These things going at the hello. Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday. Yeah, it has been an emotional day, I'm sure, for a lot of people, not just in this country, but around the world. And so, before I get into today's topic and piece of wisdom, I absolutely have to just pause and recognize and bring to your attention, if you are unaware, that history was yet made again today in the United States of America. It doesn't matter on what side of the political fence you sit. As an American citizen, you have to stop and pause and recognize that history was yet again made in the United States of America. If for whatever reason you don't know what I'm talking about, today, January 20th, 2021, we have just officially inaugurated and welcomed the first woman vice president into the office of vice presidency in the history of this country. And it is a woman of color. A woman of color who, by the way, is a proud alum of a historically black college and university, who, by the way, is also a proud member of a Black Greek letter organization. Now, listen, if that ain't enough to, get you a little flustered and make you feel, some little butterflies or, it's history, y'all. Like, this is history. History was made again. So I don't know. Are congratulations in order? Like, what do you do? I just felt like I needed to take a moment to recognize that because man, okay. So it is Wisdom Wednesday, and if you're new here, my name is Nick Scott. If you've been rocking me for a while, welcome back. Welcome to all the new folks. I am a personal brand coach and I help women entrepreneurs grow their personal brands. I help them position themselves in to become a gateway for premium pricing. I help them to establish their credibility, to amplify their expertise, and let's be clear, to become a magnet for opportunities. That's what I help women do. I am very excited about today's conversation and today's piece of wisdom that I have for you. I'm going to specifically be talking about mindset, but I'm going to be talking about it from the lens of personal branding. I'm going to give you a little bit about how I got into this space of personal branding. So I'll be sharing a little bit more about my journey and giving you a little bit more transparency and visibility into how I got to the place that I am today. And I'm also going to be sharing with you 3 tips to help you start to shift your mindset as it pertains to personal branding. So this is going to be one of those episodes where if you are a note taker, that I am going to encourage you to go get your pen, your notebook, your paper, your iPad, whatever it is that you are used to taking notes on. I do want you to go grab that so that you can take note of the 3 tips that I'm going to give you a little later in this episode, but also so that you can jot down any of your aha moments, any gems that you feel like are being dropped, any feelings that you might have and reactions that you might have to the conversation and the discussion that we are going to be having today. And the reason that I am choosing to discuss mindset today is because everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about mindset, and I would be willing to bet that you cannot open up your social media. I don't care what social media it is. It could be Pinterest, it could be YouTube, it could be Clubhouse, it could be TikTok. I don't care which social media platform it is. I bet that you cannot open up your profile, your feed, and not see a post that where someone is talking about mindset. Like, it's impossible to happen because the conversation is literally all over the place, because everyone from athletes are talking about mindset, culinary artists are talking about mindset, physical therapists are talking about mindset, online business coaches, we are talking about mindset. We're telling you that you need to shift your mindset, because here's the thing about mindset. This is not a new concept. It's not a new concept. And even though it is becoming more and more of a popular conversation and more of something for bloggers and folks to start to talk about for clickbait purposes, it is not a new concept. It is said that the most successful people in history, American history or world history, depending upon, how broadly you want to look at it, these people were successful not because of their talents and their gifts, but because they learned how to master their own minds. Like, pages and pages of books have been written about how the most successful people in history have mastered their own minds. So it's not a new concept. You can even go back and watch like old videos from people like Jim Carrey or Will Smith. I always love to talk about entertainers because they're just easy for us to understand and relate to. But those folks, you can go watch old videos of them and they're talking about mindset. They're talking about shifting their beliefs. They're talking about being in alignment with the universe, right? So this is not a new concept. And I just want you to really understand that, even though we're seeing an overabundance of flooding of our timelines with the idea and conversations about mindset, it's not a new concept, okay? Because it's important for you to understand that these folks weren't successful just because they mastered their minds, just because they were talented, just because they were gifted, because they understood the foundation of mindset and the foundation that mindset has on your ability to be successful, whether that's successful as a brand or successful as a business owner. Because as the saying goes, as a woman thinketh, so she becometh, right? We've heard that before. If you think it, you're probably going to become it. And this, to me, is where mindset starts to speak directly to your personal brand. It is at that point where, as you think, you become. At that crossroads, that intersection of thinking and becoming, that to me is really where we can start to sink our teeth into this conversation about personal branding. Because your personal brand is truly, truly, truly the totality of who you are. The totality of who you are as a person, as a business owner, and as a brand. Like, all of these things, everything about you makes up your personal brand. And because your personal brand is the totality of who you are, you cannot overlook the importance of your mindset. You would be doing yourself a disservice if you overlooked the importance of mindset. Like, you cannot take the totality of who you are and then say, oh, except for this part, except for all of the things that I need to unlearn, all of these bad habits that I need to break. We don't want to address that. No, it's the totality of who you are. Because so many people in my line of work, I come across them every single day. They say that they want to be a brand. They say that they want to make a bigger impact on their community. They say that they want to have more influence. They say that they want to start to feel and see the benefits of a strong personal brand. More sales, more opportunities, more impact. This is what they're telling me day in and day out. But the amount of people that actually take action, that actually start to move forward in that thing called taking ownership of the totality of who you are, including your mindset, it's a few. Many are called, but few are truly chosen. Like, there is no difference between, some of the big brands that come to my mind right away are like Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. They're two of my favorites for a lot of reasons. But Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry, these are big brands, right? They're people, they're famous. Obviously, being a big brand doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be famous, but these two people just happen to be famous. And they understand that it took work for them to get there. And so when I look at people like Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they are doing it with their brand. Like, they are legitimately cashing checks because of their personal brand. They are literally making a huge impact. They are changing people's lives with the connections and the stories that they're telling through the vehicle of their personal brand, right? So we see that and we're like, oh yes, this is what I want. But we're not, we're interested, we're not committed. We're interested, we're not committed. So another way to put all of this, right? Remember I said the intersection, the crossroads of thinking and becoming. To me, that's where the conversation about personal branding starts. So another way to put this, for another very common, I guess, phrase, colloquialism that people say is watch your thoughts because they become your words. Watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions for they become your habits. Watch your habits because that becomes your personality. Okay? Watch your thoughts, they become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your personality. Now, if you think that changing a bad habit is hard, imagine how hard it is to change a bad personality trait. And it all started with your mind, with what was going in your mind, right? Those things that are not natural, that are not DNA derived in your personality, those things that were just developed from nurture, right? Those things are hard to break. Like, it is hard to unlearn things. And your personality is huge when it comes to your personal brand. That truly is the largest part of your personal brand, because it's your personality that's either going to attract or repel the folks that are going to make up your tribe, your village, or your network, whatever it is that you call it. Your personality is the thing that's going to connect people or disconnect people from who you are, right? And it all started with a thought. When we're talking about that nurture piece, not the nature piece, not the stuff that you can't really control because, you and your mom have the exact same mannerisms and you move alike. That type of stuff is DNA. We're not talking about the DNA stuff. We're talking about that learned behavior, those learned personality traits, those things that literally started in your head. These are the things that are either going to attract or repel your tribe. Okay, so this is how deep this mindset thing is. Your personality, it is going to either attract or it's going to repel targeted leads and customers, right? Targeted leads and customers. Your personality, that thing that started with a thought, that became words, that became actions, that became a habit, and then it just became a part of who you are. Your personality is ultimately the thing that is going to be or determine whether or not you become a magnet for opportunities. Let me know if you're following me with this. Let me know if you are understanding the connection of your mindset to your personal brand. because we have to understand this. If we don't understand that your personal brand is the totality of who you are, right? And we understand that your thoughts ultimately lead and can become your personality if we don't start to master our mindset, right? So I hope you're following me. I hope that I'm making sense here, because your personal brand can be and should be the thing that you leverage most in your business. Like it is the most important component of your marketing strategy, especially in this day and time where people want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust, right? So now that we have that understanding of, the crossroads and the intersection of thinking and becoming, right? We understand how the intersection and the crossroads of those two things really make up our personality, and how our personality is the driving factor behind our personal brand. And not only that, but it is the thing that is either going to attract or repel our tribe, our village, our customers, our clients, and our opportunities. I said that I wanted to give you 3 tips to help you shift your mindset as it pertains to your personal brand. Now, I'm kind of separating it out and saying these are personal branding mindset shifts, but I would dare say that these tips that I'm about to give you, you can probably parlay these into any area of your life or just in mindset in general. So if you have your pen in your notebook or whatever it is that you're taking notes on, this is number 1. I want you to write down number 1. The very first tip that I have for you is to accept the fact that your thoughts need to change or they need to be better. Because this entire discussion is taking on the assumption that the mindset that you currently have needs to be improved. And I would say that regardless of where you are in this whole, mental wellness journey of yours, your personal mental wellness journey, I would dare say that there is always room for improvement. There is always room for improvement in this area. It is a constant daily battle, right? We have to constantly be aware, and we have to constantly accept that our thoughts need to change or they need to be better. We have to start to become conscious of what we're thinking. So much of our personality and so much of what we think and so much of how we react to things is just automatic. And it needs to stop. If you truly are committed to taking action, to being part of, the many are called, but few are chosen, and you want to be part of that chosen few, then you have to start to recognize that change needs to happen. You have to start to become more conscious of your thoughts. You have to become more conscious of how you're reacting to things at any given moment. Any given moment. There are people in my personal life who are masters of their emotions. And for so much of my life, I wondered, how can this person just, it's not that they're unemotional or that they're detached. They are just in control. It's amazing to me. And it's been a quality that I've always admired in other people. So, I made a commitment to myself. I said, I am going to learn how to become a master of my emotions in any given moment. Somebody told me recently that nobody can make you more frustrated or angry than your kids, your man, or your mama. And when they told that to me, I was like, because when I think about the folks that I react most passionately about or toward, my man, my kids, and my mama, right? Like those folks know how to get a rise. But even when it comes to those people, I made a commitment to myself that I was not going to, I wanted to be a master of my emotions, and I was not going to allow whatever the situation is. I have to be conscious about that. I have to be accountable to myself for that. I have to be responsible for that. Like, no, it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. The only person and the only brand that you can control is yours. So accept the fact that your thoughts need to change or they need to be better. And they always need to be better, okay? But here's the kicker. It's easy, right, for us to, be all poised and master of our minds and our emotions in public when there's people around, when we got an audience, right? It's easy. But personal branding isn't just about what's going on in public. It's about that integrity piece. It's about what's going on in them quiet moments when you're by yourself, when your thoughts are just, doing what they do. That's the real test right there. That is the real test of whether or not your mindset is on the right track. Because in those quiet moments, a lot of times we can start to question our credibility as an expert in our niche and in our industry, right? In those quiet moments, we could start to beat up on ourselves. You understand what I'm saying? So accept the fact that your thoughts need to change or be better, not just in public, but in private, by yourself, when you're alone, when it really, really matters. So number 2, the second thing that I want you to write down is you have to stop looking at personal branding as if it is something that is finite. By finite, I mean cut and dry, black and white, the end. This is, because here is a common obstacle that I have to overcome in my line of work. Is that a lot of entrepreneurs, they think that they can skip out on personal branding because they feel like it puts them in a box. They feel like if I focus on this one area, if I focus on this one thing, then it denies everything else that I am. Let me tell you something. I have not met a woman, I have not met a man, a child who is not dynamic. It just doesn't happen. I haven't met anybody like that. We are all dynamic humans. We all have things that we're great at. In my program, Fab Public Speaking, part of the program is I teach people how to niche down and focus on a specific area that they want to leverage to build their business, to grow their brands, and to become experts in their industry. And for 100% of the time, that is the hardest part of the program. And coincidentally, it is the first thing that we tackle because it's a mindset thing, right? Some people, they feel like they're not qualified enough because they don't have experience or degrees or whatever in this certain area. Some people feel like, well, you know what? If I focus on this, then I'm going to be denying all the rest of who I am. And that's not true. Personal branding is not finite. It is not finite. This lack of commitment to focus on one given area is sometimes due to the fact that this person is looking at their personal branding strategy as a finite thing. Because here's the truth. This is the truth, y'all. There is going to come a time in your life as an entrepreneur where you are going to have to shift, where you might have to pivot. You might have to just change directions altogether. Okay? So that in itself says that personal branding cannot be finite. Like, it has to be nimble. Your personal brand has to be just as dynamic as you are, right? And then the third tip that I have for you about changing your personal branding mindset is to recognize your beliefs about what personal branding is. personal branding is not a mystery. It is not this unicorn, this mysterious thing that is intangible that you can't grasp. It's not like juggling jello. That's not what personal branding is. Personal branding is, first of all, we all know that we all have a personal brand, right? So personal branding is actually taking control and taking ownership of the thing that you already have. Before I narrowed my focus to personal branding, I helped entrepreneurs with their social media. If you go back and you look at my resume and my LinkedIn, I have very substantial professional experience in social media. So for me, that was a natural fit for me to start to build my business off of, something that I was already experienced at and well known for, right? And I often found myself, though, overcoming a very common objection. My clients have mostly always been women, and, that's on purpose. But I always had to overcome this objection with women, especially. I've also had a few male clients that social media wasn't an important asset for their business. Like, they just didn't understand, why I have to show my face. Why do I have to, make these human connections with my audience? They didn't understand how important of an asset social media was, not just for, the business side of things, but why it was important for them to also have an account that was represented by them, by you, but also represents your business. They didn't understand the connection that they had between the success of their business and the success of themselves branding themselves. So here's what I started asking a lot of questions. I'm like, I don't understand, this is back when social media wasn't really, all of it is today. And I had to understand, because it wasn't just because social media was new. It wasn't just because it made them uncomfortable. It was because they felt like anything outside of sharing about their business, anytime that she would come on social media to share something that she's done, to share an accomplishment, to share just anything personal about herself, she made it seem like it was a highlight reel. She made it seem like it was a waste of time, and that, I don't want to be braggy. I'm not selfish. Like, I'm not conceited like that. That's what this social media thing is. Like, nobody cares about what I had for lunch. Like, they just could not see the connection. But here's the thing. While my women clients were afraid or nervous or apprehensive, whatever the case was, to get on social media and to show up on social media, my male clients, they were tweeting, blogging, or public speaking their way to seats at the table. They were getting opportunities that my women clients were not getting, simply because they leveraged the asset back then of social media to position themselves as experts, not because they were more knowledgeable, not because they had more experience, right? Because, I can get into why I believe women are less likely to show up in that way and why men are more likely to. I feel like it has a lot to do with culture and the way that boys are raised versus the way that women are raised, but we're not going to get into all that today. What I do want to get into is the fact that these men were being promoted above these women. These men were being afforded opportunities above these women simply because they were positioning themselves to be experts, whether it was through their Twitter account, which at this time was heavily male dominated. I'm not sure what the demographics look like now. Whether it was through a blog, or whether it was the fact that they were taking the bold movements to put themselves out there as public speakers at these conferences and events that were happening in their industry. They were being highlighted, and the women were being overlooked. And so that's when I decided to narrow my focus from just social media, right? But I really wanted to help women create unforgettable personal brands. I want to see women win. Like, I don't want to see a perfectly gifted and talented woman being passed up for an opportunity simply because she doesn't understand the connection and how to leverage the tools that are available for her to grow her personal brand, to own her personal brand, and to leverage her personal brand. And that's when I birthed Selfless, self-promotion. You've probably heard me say that before. The first step in this process, it's a 5-step process. The first step of that process, we're getting back to the topic here, is belief work, is mindset work. Because that to me is the foundation of all of this thing called personal branding. It's mindset shifting. Remember the intersection of thinking and becoming, right? That's that personality, your personal brand. The first step is to shift your mindset. And that's what we work on with Selfless Self-Promotion. If you go through Fab Public Speaking, my flagship program, my signature program, we talk about Selfless Self-Promotion a little bit, but we don't really get into the nitty-gritty of it. But that first step is that belief work. It is the belief work, because if you believe that all personal branding is being selfish and conceited and braggy and it's a highlight reel and it's fake, then personal branding is never going to work for you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It does not matter what you're doing. You have to recognize your beliefs about personal branding, whether they're good beliefs, solid, true, real beliefs, or if it's something that makes you feel icky. If it's something that makes you feel icky, you have to recognize it. You have to recognize it. Not only do you have to recognize it, but you have to start to come up with a strategy as to how you're going to overcome it. Remember, the first tip that I gave you is that you have to accept the fact that your thoughts need to change or be better. And in that discussion, I said that you need to become more conscious of your thoughts. You need to become more aware to how you react to things. So when we're recognizing our own beliefs about personal branding and we feel like it's icky, then we need to recognize that. We need to be more conscious of that. We need to be aware of how we're reacting to it, whatever the strategy is. Okay? So those were the 3 tips that I have for you to start to change your personal branding mindset. And just to recap, to make sure that you didn't miss anything, the first one was to accept the fact that your thoughts need to change or be better. And remember, I said there's always room for improvement in this area of mindset. The second tip that I had for you is to stop looking at your personal branding efforts as finite. Your personal branding needs to be as dynamic and nimble as you are a human being. And then the third tip that I had for you is to recognize your beliefs, your personal beliefs about what personal branding is. If you feel like personal branding is like juggling Jell-O and it's this thing that I can't ever grab a hold of, then, we got to talk about that. We got to dig into that. If you think personal branding is this thing that is selfish and only good for celebrities and folks that want to be famous, then we got to recognize that. We have to have a conversation about that, right? So I hope that you found today's discussion helpful. I was really excited to talk about it, especially on a historical day like today, because there's no doubt that mindset played a role in the outcome of what we saw today. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Now, before I go, I do need to extend an invitation. If you haven't already, I want you to get the personal branding roadmap. It doesn't matter where you are in your personal branding journey. If you're just getting started, I want you to get the roadmap. If you've been doing it for a while, I want you to get the roadmap, because what you're going to find in the roadmap is 7 steps, 7 simple steps. They might not be easy, but there's 7 simple steps in there for you to take to get the foundation laid for your personal brand, right? So sign up, get the roadmap, open it up, open the roadmap, and then start to take those 7 steps. You're also going to find 3 personal branding mistakes that just about everybody makes that you don't have to make, because I have them laid out right in this roadmap for you. So you can get the roadmap on my website, inickscott.com/roadmap. If you are on Instagram, you can just go to my bio and click the link that's there. If you are on Facebook, there is a link in the caption description of this post. And as we move forward in our business and our branding journey, let's be clear about the critical role that mindset has and will continue to have in our journeys and in our success. This has been another episode of Wisdom Wednesday. My name is Nick Scott, your personal brand coach, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.